Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Hood Scholars, where we give you financial, economical, and wealth information from our point of view, from our people, from our likeness, with our standpoint stamped to it. Once again, I'm back in the building with my counterpart, Demetrius Adams. Show me some love. And we are still down one host, but in due time, we will be back up to full strength. But as the saying goes, the show must go on. We're just giving you a real life example of how it looks to handle business and day-to-day life. Sometimes things don't go the way you want them to go, but that doesn't mean that the show must stop. So without further ado, how's everything with you today?
Going well.
Going well, doing good. All right, so let's get into some discussion today. I want to touch on some things since we're still dealing with the corona epidemic. Let's talk stocks and whatnot, but I want to talk black business and black wealth and investing into our community. So we'll touch on some subjects on that matter. But before we get into that, we were just talking right before recording started about stocks that are being affected by this coronavirus epidemic or scare. You want to share a little bit of that with us?
Sure. So some of the stocks, I was reading an article. Starbucks is being affected by the coronavirus because I believe they closed most of their stores in China due to the coronavirus scare, so their stock dropped some. Also, Carnival. People like to travel, they like to cruise. But unfortunately, if you're traveling going on a cruise, you're going all over the world, encountering people from all over the world. So on fears with the spread of the coronavirus, their stock plummeted as well. So, now is a good time to probably buy those stocks, if you're an investor.
I haven't looked into it. Maybe that's something you can look into while we're going through this show. We need to get us a stat guide. Mm-hmm. But how is the produce industry being affected by this as far as imports from different areas across the world? 'Cause I haven't really heard anything negative or positive for that matter. Mm-hmm. But that seemed like that'd be an industry that'd be impacted, especially like, your tea industry and things like that comes from the Far East, things of that nature. So that'd be something interesting to look into. It may create opportunities as far as investing goes, depending on how it's being affected. Because we know that we've had other scares before. We've had the cholars scare, things of that nature. So I imagine in these different parts of the country, particularly China, but you can also throw India, Japan, and all these other places in there too, where they produce produce that we use. It should be, if you will, if this is a legit scare, this should be something that should be concerning as far as what we're importing into the country. Right. So, what's your thoughts on that?
It makes sense. I mean, when you said that, I thought about Walmart too, because Walmart gets like
a lot of products from China.
Like probably 70% of their products from China. So I mean, but I think that eventually they'll find a cure, a vaccine, or things of that nature, and things will get back to normal.
Right. I mean, they always do. That's always going to be the case. But that's interesting that you brought up Walmart. One that I didn't think of. I haven't heard anything really impacting Walmart. Being that, like you said, a lot of their products come from China. And I mean, when you're dealing with a virus and things of that nature, it can be transmitted in many different type of ways. Airborne, it can be within contact with a product that you get. So I'm kind of shocked that it hasn't been discussed as far as that being an issue, as far as that concern. But nonetheless, just make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled, keep your eyes out as time goes on. Anytime that there is some kind of tragedy or some type of alarming event that happens, there's always opportunities to invest in growth. The economy and life go hand in hand, sad reality, but if you're a smart and wise investor, you learn to find the silver lining to every cloud. So, it may be something that we need to be precautious about from a health concern, but it also may give you opportunities to be able to advance and forward your wealth based on the circumstances that present themselves. I know even with me as an investor, there's certain stocks that I peek into and I may be interested in, but from a strategy standpoint, I'm like, the stock is just a little too high for where I want to invest and be able to get the return that I'm looking for. Now it might be the opportunity where it may drop a couple points, maybe several tens of points, where you can get in a position where you can start acquiring some of these stocks, hold on to them, and as they bounce back and recover, now you're in a better position and you're starting to reap some of the benefits that you probably thought were initially there before stock became astronomical and got out of reach. What comes to mind, saying that is Google at its height. Google got so high, it's like, I want to jump on it, but you got to be rich in order to be able to get a hold of any of that stock, and then you got to buy several shares.
Right.
One stock at $700 is a pretty nice investment for the average person.
Right. Well, think about Amazon too.
Exactly. Amazon. You got Amazon now too. That's the new Google, right?
Yeah, they're like, I think $1,300
exactly.
man. So
I mean, and it's still going up. The uptick is still there, but one share at $1,300 is not getting you what you want to get out of it. But for some of the more mid-level, some of the more moderate ones that are sitting at the 200 range, like Facebook is around 200-ish. Where's Tesla at currently right now?
They've been dropping double.
So I know they're in the lower hundreds. So something like that, where once they reach a more stable point, or so wherever your financial threshold is, you'll be able to jump on it and be able to reap the benefits, because that's one thing that you'll learn when you're looking at the market and things like that. There is resistance and recovery. So even resistance and support. Excuse me. Even when you have a slide like you do now because of different scares, usually support is going to kick in and stocks will recover back to about where they were trending at in a majority of cases, and you can reap the benefits and capitalize on it as things recover, as like you said, vaccines come out and things stabilize, because with every scare that we had, there's eventually a vaccine, or eventually it dies out and it's not as much of a threat. But now is the time to be able to capitalize while things are in an uproar, things are trying to restabilize themselves. This is the time to attack the market and reap the benefits, if you will. So what do you have over there?
So Tesla is at $674. So they did drop some.
Okay, so that'll be a perfect example. Tesla is a good stock to look into. Everything is going towards the electric wave. You had just recently a lot of auto manufacturers released their version of the electric car. One that pops in mind is Ford Mustang. They'll come out with a fully electric version. So everybody's trending towards that as we become more and more green, if you will. So this would be a good stock to hold on to now and follow it as it has the potential. We do have to put that disclaimer out there. It has the potential to grow and it's something more lucrative. But that's something you always want to look into when looking at stocks. If you have a stock that may be out of reach for you at this point, put it on your watch list, see what happens to it, see if it takes a slide that puts it in range for you to acquire, make the proper assessment, see if this is something that you want to acquire at that time, and see if you can get that support that leads to the recovery of putting the stock back in position where you can start to reap the benefits financially. So just some best practices and things to look into as you look at increasing your financial intellect, becoming more financially literate and learning how to strategize with things. One thing people have to understand when building wealth, learning how to invest, learning how to move and put your money and your assets in different locations, different streams, everything is a risk. There's no way of avoiding risk. If you're scared of risk, you're a proponent of failure, because those two things go hand in hand. Being scary and failure go hand in hand. This is how you miss opportunities. This is how you miss windows that open, and this is when you have people saying, if only I would have 20 years ago, I could be. Well, if you would have just did it and stepped out there, you would be exactly where you said you should be. And this goes back to the point that we were saying previously, that this is why you have money set aside. Absolutely. The rich people and the millionaires and the people that are wealthy, when they make money, they pay themselves first. They invest, then they pay their bills. But most people, they give as well. But then most people, when you get your paycheck, automatically you're paying your bills. Then you're paying other things. Then you pay yourself last if you have anything left over. The rich people have a different mindset. They work to invest because they understand that if I'm investing now, I'm going to reap the benefits in the future. So it's a mindset. And they also understand the difference between different types of income. The 9-to-5 class always gets frustrated when they look at their pay stub and see how much the government is taking, not realizing that earned income or income that you get from an employer is the most taxed income. This is why it's so important to be able to diversify your portfolio, have different means of income coming in. This is why it's always laughable too when we get into political season like we're in now, and you have one side talking about tax cuts, and you have the other side talking about tax breaks, and we always get mad and say, tax them more. We need to put more taxes on the rich people, and rich people sitting there laughing and saying, you send the taxes as high as you want. It won't affect me because what you're taxing is earned income. I don't make earned income, so it's going to trickle back down to you like it always does, and you take the hit. Well, speaking of that, I have to look this up to verify, but I believe Amazon
$1 trillion company paid no taxes last year. You know, and I laugh as well when people say, "Oh, this candidate is going to tax the rich or make the the 1%." When it's never going to happen, because the 1%, they're going to find the loopholes in the law. They're going to pay their lawyers to find the loopholes in the law where you can make millions but don't pay taxes, because the money, the business is not in their name. The business is making the money, not them.
Right, exactly.
So therefore, they won't pay the taxes. The business will. And
I'll get the exact number, but when you make portfolio income, or when you make anything but earned income coming from a 9 to 5, if you will, proverbially speaking, there's more tax breaks for those that make money that way. They're more incentivized to do so versus the person that works the 9 to 5. And the logic and the thinking is, and to a certain degree, to a very large degree, honestly, it makes sense. Even though we don't necessarily look at it like that when we're in that position of working with somebody else, is we want to reward the people that make jobs, that bring in more money, that generate income, that builds our economy. And for those of you that just want to work for somebody that's doing all the work of building the economy, you get punished for it. We want to de-incentivize you so you can come on the other side and start making more money, fortifying our economy. So just the understanding and the mindset when you look at it. So now that you have more understanding of how it works, you're more privy to make better sound decisions. Not saying that everybody's not going to have a 9 to 5. I've actually talked to some people that have given me financial advice and have increased my literacy, that have literally done the opposite. They've gone from working a fairly successful business that they own, stopped working it, and went into a 9 to 5. So it's not necessarily that one is right or wrong. It's just a matter of understanding how they work and learning how to utilize them for you. Do you need to be a full-fledged, full-time entrepreneur? No. But you should be supplementing your income in other ways where you can reap the benefits. It's very beneficial when it comes to tax season to have a LLC where you're running your own business to balance your income, or to balance to make it more beneficial for you when it comes tax time. Because if you've ever worked a 9 to 5, you're actually working hard, giving your blood, sweat, and tears. You're not excited about tax time when it comes around. It's like, what's the point? Why am I getting punished for working so hard?
And then the other thing about the economy now, we live in the gig economy, where everybody, even the major companies like Apple and Microsoft, and I believe it's a couple other ones, they said that now, Google as well, now they're not looking for people with degrees now. They've come out and said that a degree doesn't guarantee you a job. They're looking for people that have skills.
Absolutely.
So if you have a skill in today's economy, you can be an entrepreneur and make money. Somebody will pay you. If you're good at what you're doing, somebody will pay you. You have Upwork, Fiverr, I can't think of the other one. You can make money yourself. So now is the easiest time to be an entrepreneur. There's always going to be a risk, but now it's the easiest time to work for yourself and make a profit.
It's going back to what you see in a lot of factory environments, what they call skilled trades work, where you see a lot of times you have your standard work and then you have your skilled trades where they make significantly more money because they specialize in a certain whatever, whether it be an electrician, a millwright, maintenance guys. Be surprising if people don't realize that the maintenance guy makes a whole lot of money. It's very lucrative to know how to fix some of everything. So we're getting back into the era of skilled trades where it's more beneficial to the parties involved. So if I can get somebody that actually has the aptitude to specialize in a certain thing, it's more cost effective for my company. And obviously it brings me in more profit for having people like this in place versus having someone, and of course, as with anything, it doesn't apply to everybody, having a person that has a degree that says I went to school for X, Y, and Z, but doesn't necessarily have the aptitude or proficiency to perform said job or said task. They're more taskers, needing somebody to do or set up the work for them more than having the initiative and the skill set to create the work and create an environment that's going to be productive and proficient for all parties involved. So it makes sense that people are going back, and as with anything that happens in the universe, everything always balances itself and recorrects itself. Where we're in the age of, I've seen all the way down to your standard retail or customer service job, you had to have a degree. Was like, is it really beneficial for me to go to school, get in the debt to answer phones all day? Not to knock and discredit anybody that does it, but just to get the mindset. And I'm sure a lot of them will agree too, to say, hey, I went to school, got this degree, I owe this much in debt, but this is what I get rewarded with. So now it's skills incentive, and it helps out for those people, which is another conversation I don't think we have a lot. everybody's not meant to take that route.
Right.
We try to homogenize and make everybody the same thing, the same way, not realizing that some people are not supposed to go to post-secondary school.
Right.
That's not their skill set. But that doesn't mean that you don't have the tools to be successful.
Right.
So put them in position to be successful and finding the proper path. This more incentivizes it to do that, where I can say, you know, I never was good at school as far as from a scholastic standpoint. You put a test in front of me, I fold under pressure.
Right.
But I may be good at this skill or this trade that can make me a whole lot of money.
Right.
Well, I put myself in a financial pitfall by just forcing myself to go to school, because that's what happens when you ask every little kid, what you want to be when you grow up? But I'm going to go to college, I'm going to go to school for this, and I want to be X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Well, everybody can't be X, Y, and Z, which is usually police officer, fireman, and doctor.
Right.
Everybody can't be that, but there's an infinite amount of industry out there where you can, you know, make a solid living.
And then when you think about the whole college is never to knock college. It's great. You know, you learn a lot of information. However, college is also a business.
Absolutely.
Okay. And if you know, they charge the tuition and things of that nature for the kids to go there to learn. You know, so they can grow up and, you know, do whatever they're trying to do. But it's also a business, and what people are, you know, coming to realize is that you don't necessarily need that degree, like you said, to be successful. You can learn it. You can go to trade school. You can have a skill, you know, or you can, you know, be in business for yourself. Right. But I think the difference is, whatever your skill or gift is, you have to perfect your craft.
Absolutely.
And then once you perfect your craft, you have to have that mindset that I'm going to be successful no matter what, you know. And then people don't want to put the work in, you know, to be successful, because you're going to learn all those different lessons. You're going to fail multiple times, but if you stick with it, eventually, you know, you'll get to where you're trying to get to be successful.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to look up really quick so I can properly credit the person who said it. 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert.
I heard
looked
that
it up before, but let me look up exactly
who
did. There we go. To be an expert, who would that be?
I got that on my motivational list too.
Malcolm Gladwell. So this is what said. So speaking to the people that might have a skill, or specifically a talent. Let's deal with that. A talent that a lot of people have. Right. Even when you have a talent or you do something naturally well, it doesn't mean that you don't need to perfect your craft and become disciplined at it. So Malcolm Gladwell is the one that coined the phrase that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. Which that equates, if you were to do it, you know, every hour nonstop, which obviously we want, it's about 5 years of putting the hard work and effort into doing said thing in order to become an expert at it. So that is a key point. Even if you don't go down the traditional society route of going to school and going to post-secondary school and taking this degree, if you get it, to petition somebody to give you a job and telling you how much this degree is worth, you still need to perfect your craft. That's where your wealth comes from, if you will. Because you'll notice if you're not already out in industry, if you're not already an entrepreneur, if you're not already out in the field trying to make things work for you, the moment you think you have an idea or you have something unique to yourself, is the moment that you figure out that it's 1,000 other people trying to do the same thing that you're doing. And I mean, it's the most insane thing that you see. I don't care how unique you think the idea is. As soon as you start researching, as soon as you start putting it out there, all of a sudden you see other people popping up, and it seems like they're imitating you, but it's not the case that they're imitating you. It's just a matter of this is out here in the atmosphere for everybody to pick up on. So now it's your job to become an expert and become as proficient as possible at it, so you can reap the benefits of your hard work and labor. This is why, you know, trying to correlate it to sports, I kind of get it, but it was always weird to me. You see a person win a championship, or you see a fighter win his title, and they'll cry afterwards. It's like, I mean, I understand why you're happy, but you're crying afterwards. But then when you equate all the hard work that goes into achieving that goal, that outlet makes sense, because anything worth having is worth working for. And then you're working at the elite of the elite level. You're not just doing it, you know, say for instance, you work in a retail store. You're not just the best, you know, salesperson in your particular store. You have to be the best salesperson, if you will, you know, associating one to another in the world. So you can't just be, oh, you're pretty decent. You know, you have to be good on top of good, because you're competing with that person over across seas that is exceptionally well too. So you have to put in the hours, the labor, the intensity in order to exceed what they're doing. So it makes sense when you see an athlete or a team or things like that when they become so emotional, because if you look at it theoretically, it's kind of like that with life too. When you're reaching the elite level, which most of us in our minds want to be, we don't just want to be well off. We want to be the highest tier of well off. We want to be on Forbes top 100 lists or whatever the case may be. But once you start to get into those areas and that type of stratosphere, you take your typical team. Let's even take New England Patriots. They're probably the most elite team in sports history, most dynamic team. I want to say, what is it? How long has it been? Brady's been in the league 17 years or something like that.
Was it 90? Let me see.
So while you're looking at it, somewhere between 15 and 17 years. But even as elite and as proficient as they've been, he's still only won 6 titles. That's not even half of the time that he's been in the league. And this is what's considered an anomaly. It's very much so a possibility that we'll never see accolades like that again within that small time frame, what they did. And he was still shooting under 50%.
Right, because they lost, what was it, 3?
Yeah, they lost 3 and went 6-9.
2000 is when he was drafted.
So this is 2000. Ooh.
He was 199th pick.
In 2000, so it's been 20 years?
Yep.
Wow, I didn't even think it was that long. But nonetheless, he's shooting under 50% as far as winning the championship. And this is the most elite example that you'll get. Michael Jordan probably compares to, but even with him, he's under 50%. So you had to understand, correlating it to any industry, whether it be business, whether it be, philanthropy, whatever the case may be, you're going to have to work hard to be able to reach whatever tier you're trying to get to. The harder you work, the higher tiers you go. So if you have high expectations, you're trying to reach the stratosphere with the goals that you have in mind, you have to understand that you're going to have to put the work in order to be able to obtain those goals. And like we said previously, you got to have the mindset to be willing to work. Don't dismiss the importance of the work. I mean, we understand to a certain degree that the work is inevitable. You're going to have to work to a certain degree, but you need to learn how to embrace work ethic and discipline, embrace getting up in the morning, starting early, finishing late, being the first one in, last one out, as they like to say, making sure you're mastering your craft. And just to add on to that too, mastering everything one by one, because every nuance, every subtle thing, we're multifaceted as far as our talents and our interests. Each one of those needs to be cultivated and nurtured and incubated individually. So if you have a great business mind and you want to start a clothing company, master that first. Learn textile and fabric and how the fashion industry works, so on and so forth. You might also have a mind where you like to, I'm trying to think of so many things, I'm actually going through my mind right now. You might, want to open a salon or something like that. Let's go with that. Let's throw that out there. You need to master that as well. Put the hours in to make sure that each chain, location is successful. If you decide to open a franchise, or even if it's just one, making sure you're cultivating, putting it in the right location. That takes hours to put in to make sure that you're finding the right location that fits your demographic, that fits the clientele that you're trying to bring in, that matches the employees that you're going to match along with the clientele. And just all these different things take so much time and effort that you want to make sure that you're cultivating everything individually, that you're doing what's necessary each time around, and then collectively, as you become an expert at it, as you master each one, then you add on to the next one, then you add on. But a lot of us, including myself, I had to learn that, had to take those lumps in my entrepreneurship, learning that you can't do all of it at once. You want to, you got that bright idea, and it's like, all right, let's jump on that now. It's like, perfect this first, get this rooted and grounded. Once the roots are in the ground and everything is stabilized, then you can start working on this. Then get that going, and then you can start working on this. Then that's when you look back, as we said previously, you have those multiple streams of income, and now you're adding on to something that's stable and is able to sustain itself. Because a lot of times we put things out in the field, if you will, and being a gardener, I like to go out in my garden and play around a lot. A lot of times you'll see something sprout up, you're like, good, that's good to go. We got that going, let's start focusing over here now. But the moment you start to neglect that because it hasn't rooted itself, it hasn't established itself, it dies off. Or you have to, stop what you're doing over here and come back to this because this is dying, and now you can't get this full attention, and now you're scrambling back and forth, and you start to lose track of how to keep pace of everything. Something similar as a garden, that translates the same way in economy and finance and running the business. Make sure you master this first, perfect this talent, then move on to the next one, then move on to the next one, and you can build and sustain from there. So that's important. That's a key strategy in making sure that you, when you're accumulating and building wealth, don't neglect the hard work. You'll probably hear me reiterate this in several episodes, several segments.
Right.
You have to train your mind to embrace the work that's in front of you.
Right.
They go hand in hand. It's necessary.
Right.
In order for you to obtain what they call long money or old money, you have to master what you have to master the minor things.
Right.
You have to major in the minors, if you will.
Right.
As I like to say.
Correct. Well, when you were talking, I just thought about three things.
Mm-hmm.
One.
I had to get you a notepad. I know how that goes.
Well, one is that a lot of times people always want to know what their purpose, what their gift is. Once you find your gift, your gift will make room for you. Meaning that if you perfect your gift with the hard work, it'll be profitable for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, like you said, faith without works is dead. You gotta put the work in. I don't care what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to do. You gotta put the work in. I saw this shirt. You'll see a lot of people wearing it. Say, "Shh, nobody cares. Work harder."
Yeah, I like that.
That's pretty much how you gotta be. And then lastly, you gotta have that Mamba mentality, man. Kobe Bryant said it best. He said that talent does not mean success. You gotta have the talent with the hard work. And you'll be successful. And he said, he outworked everybody. That's why he had the talent, but he outworked everybody. And that's what made him to be, the champion, that he was. And he wasn't competing with he was competing with himself to be the best version of himself. Mm-hmm. And, in life, that's what you should be looking at. I'm not trying to be better than that person. I just want to be the best version of myself, what I have, so I can get to where I'm trying to get to.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, I see it a lot with talented people where their talents cross a broad spectrum.
Right.
They're so talented that they never lock in on one thing. You'll see them dabble in something that's like, oh, that's going good. Keep at it. You'll be great.
Right.
Then they're over here. It's like, okay, well, that was going good. Why did you stop that? Now you're like, well, you're doing good at that too. Well, keep at that and you'll be great.
Right.
And then they'll stop doing that. And every time you look up, like, they're accomplishing small things, but they never complete the process to get over the hump. Exactly, because they're so talented, they don't know how to hone it in. Just like we were saying a couple minutes ago, say, master this. Get that to a level of success to reach whatever it is that you're looking for. Then come over here. So yeah, you definitely have to work hard at your talent. Your talent is just an identifier of what it is that you may be purposed to do. You still have to work at it. Business has always been a passion of mine. And I'll say too, as we wrap up, for those that may be looking to find their talent or their purpose, those things that you can, one of two things I'll say, but it's really one of many. One, you can talk about ad nauseum and never get bored of talking about it. Maybe a good indicator of that's where your purpose and your talent lies. And also, what was the second one? I just forgot it just that quickly. What was my
thing that the thing you would do for free?
Yeah, that's why I say it's one of many. But I was gonna say that you just make me forget it again. I just had it. What was it? I literally just had it. Oh, that thing where you don't mind giving the game away for free. So a lot of times when you get to an expert level, that's the reason why most people don't have an excuse when it comes to obtaining the information and knowledge needed to do whatever it is. Because there's somebody out there in that industry that even though they may be getting paid for it, or even though they maybe should get paid for this, because it's so in them, they're giving this information away for free. I just want to sit down and talk business because I like doing this. I might be giving you something that's worth $1,000 a seminar, but it's just in me just to give it out. So once you become that person, then you know that you're probably on the right track of finding your purpose and the thing that you're supposed to do, because it's just so much in you. I don't care about sharing whatever, but it's not going to affect what I'm doing. It's just going to enhance it, and hopefully it enhances you and puts you in a better position.
And then you can also think of it like this. That one thing that bothers you.
That's another one.
You wake up like, oh my God, it just bothers me. And when you think about every business or product, it's a solution to a problem. So if you can figure out a way to solve somebody else's problem, they will pay you millions of dollars to do it. So just kind of go from there.
I think I heard it said those things that irritate you the most are the things that you've been put on this earth to solve, which is, I found out from personal experience, it's kind of true. It's like those things that agitate, it's more so, it's not there to be an irritant or a nuisance or a thorn on your side. It's there to be an indicator of, hey, there's an issue out there, there's an opportunity, either you can capitalize on it or somebody somewhere else that's being irritated by the same thing that's going to take the necessary steps to capitalize on it. So you take heed to that. When it bugs you half to death to see certain things, and to that point,
drive you crazy.
To your point, most of your major inventions were made out of necessity. I don't know why it is. I mean, maybe because we're getting closer to spring and summer that the air conditioner always comes to mind. Somebody was sitting at home and said, man, this fan ain't doing it, man. We're going to need to do something a little better than this fan. So and now you got the air conditioner. So So yeah, that's final thought as we close out. We got 30 seconds left. What's your closing thoughts before we end this episode?
Just work, man.
Yeah, get your Rihanna on. Work. Yeah, if anything to leave you guys with as we close out this episode, start training your mind first and foremost to put in the work and the effort.
Right.
It's not good enough for it just to be a post on Facebook.
Right.
Actually start to change your mindset to actually match up with that.
Right.
As usual, this has been another episode of Hood Scouts. We thank you for being here. I'm the architect. This is Demetrius Adams. Until next time, peace.